Hello and welcome in today's mastery video, where our topic will be Earth Mastery. Now, Earth Mastery is mainly focused on dealing burn, fire and physical damage, and is suited to destroy large amounts of enemies while struggling against the bosses. You will not have a lot of protection, but you will deal a great amount of damage. Now, first off, let's start with the bottom row as usual. And here we have Earth Enchantment and Flame Surge. Now, Earth Enchantment is an aura ability that you can toggle on and off. And this aura will increase your fire damage dealt with your attacks, as well as your percentage fire and burn damage dealt with anything from your abilities to your attack. Now, leveling up this ability will level only the percentage increases, and this aura can also be passed to your allies, as you can see here. If I summon Car Dweller, he also gets the Earth Enchantment. Now let's disband this pet. This ability is the key of this mastery. Anything that you deal with this mastery will have either burn or fire damage in that ability. So increasing and maxing out this ability will be a key factor in dealing lots of damage. Apart from Earth Enchantment, here we have two augment skill, which are Brimstone and Stone Skin. The first one, Brimstone, will increase your physical damage, as well as letting you deal burn damage over time with only your basic attacks. Now this is not that good of an ability, just because in the same row we have some really nice abilities such as Ring of Flame or Heat Shield. To increase your damage over time, yes, it's good, but you will first need to use a lot of points to increase Earth Enchantment, which will boost not only your damage with your attacks, but from all your skill in this mastery. So upgrading Earth Enchantment is better, but later on you can of course put some points in Brimstone to increase your damage. Now the second ability is Stone Skin. This is one of the few protective ability in this mastery. What it does, it passively, while under effect of Earth Enchantment, it will increase your armor and fire resistance, of course for your pets as well. Now this armor and fire resistance as well is going to be the bonus armor kind, which is the best armor kind, because the bonus armor will be applied in full power to all your equipment, to the head, to the torso, to the arm and the leg as well. So my torso amount is 222, sorry, which will be increased by 13 in this case. Now Stone Skin can sound a little bit boring, and in fact it is, but do not underestimate the armor applied in full to all your equipment. It is in fact a lot of armor, and the fire resistance will be really nice as well against particular bosses such as Surtur or maybe captains in Greece, which you will find a lot of. So since fire damage is the most common type of elemental damage, having some fire resistance will go a long way. Let's move on to Flame Surge. This is a fairly simple ability. Let's show it here. What it does, it deals a wave of projectile fire dealing projectiles, which also reduce enemies' defensive ability for a low duration. Let's see this ability in action. It's really small, here we have it. Now this ability has some problem. For starting out, it doesn't deal a lot of damage. Now, you can, of course, mitigate this problem by putting a lot of points, but it's not that efficient. The great thing is the high reduced defensive ability, but it's also a problem because it doesn't last as long. Now, the cooldown is not that high, but you can't really spam it. So, for dealing with that problem, we have Barrage, which reduces the recharge of Flame Surge basic ability, and also its cost, as well as letting it deal burn damage over time and passing through enemies. Now this is the best of the two augment abilities in my opinion. It does so much. And if you have enough points with Barrage, now you can see I have minus 5.4 seconds recharge. If I cast it, I almost can cast it again. And with enough abilities, this shield gives me another point in Earth Mastery. You can see I can cast it without a cooldown now. So my damage is only reduced by how much casting speed I have. The more I have, the faster I can cast Flame Surge, and the better the damage dealt in a second. Now this can be great, but to increase even more your damage, you can also use Flame Arch, which is another augment skill of Flame Surge, of course. Now this increases your projectile fired every time you cast the skill, as well as the base fire damage. So you can see, let's put a lot of points. Oh, sorry. You can see I'm now casting 5 different projectiles instead of only 3.
The transfer of
now,
knowledge bears a high
ability
price. Your choices have been made.
Requires really a lot of points to be great. Requires some plus 2 skills from Stonebinders or maybe other kinds of equipment to really elevate this skill to a spamming ability. And as such, it is not really a good ability at all. It requires really a high amount of points to even be good. Now also the reduced defensive ability is nice, but it doesn't last long at all, and the chance to fear enemies is so low that it's almost non-existent. So don't use this ability if you want to debuff enemies at all. Let's move on to the second row, and here we have some interesting abilities, such as Heat Shield. Now Heat Shield, you can see it here, is an ability that you can cast on any ally you have, and it reduces damage against fire and increases your physical resistance. Increasing the ability will increase your damage absorption only against fire, which is in fact a really common damage that you can mitigate in this way. And the physical resistance bonus will not increase, but it is already high enough that only putting 1 point will be enough to make this skill really good, just for the physical resistance. Now if you are against some really fire dealing bosses like Surtur at the end of Ragnarok act, you can see it, I am not there just yet, but if you are against Surtur, he will deal of course a lot of fire damage, and putting just 3 or 4 maybe 5 points will be enough to completely negate all of his fire damage. And of course he will also be dealing lots of physical damage, which Heat Shield also protects against. This is a nice skill to 1 point, or maybe put some, but you will never level hit shield all the way to the maximum, it will just not be a necessity at all. Now, let's go on to the main focus of the second row. Here we have the best farming skill in the Earth Mastery, which is Ring of Flame. Now, Ring of Flame is a continuous ability, which is not an aura. You can see only my main character gets it, and not my pets. What this ability does, it deals damage every second against enemies in an area around you. Let's see it in action in Sparta. We can see it against these dummies. Now you can see they are taking damage any second. And as such, this ability can be really good for farming. Just passing by enemies without hitting them with your main attack, but only with your skill. In this way, you are passing near, hitting them with your aura, and then moving on. This can be really fast to farm and level up in a speedy kind of way. Now, to do that, you will have to put a lot of points early, but this ability will have a problem, which is the active energy cost per second, which is going to be really high. And in the early game, you will not have any kind of high energy regeneration to keep up with this. So what you can do is simply buy some blue potion. It's not really that hard. Just go to the vendor, stock up on the energy potion, and keep going. Keep going with this easy and fast farming method. Pass through enemies, kill them, move on. Now, as well as putting points in Ring of Flame to increase its damage, of course, you will also increase the meter radius, so you can pass pass near multiple enemies, even if they are not near each other. And you will want to also increase Earth Enchantment to buff the fire damage percentage, to increase the Ring of Flame damage. Now, this ability will not be as great against bosses as it is against such large hordes of enemies. So keep that in mind. You will take some more time against bosses. Now, its augment skill will increase again the damage it does, as well as the energy cost per second, but the damage this time is going to be physical. You see, only physical damage. Now, this ability will also decrease enemies' offensive ability, so they will hit you softer in a way. They will deal less critical hits. And also this ability will reduce their armor. So since Earth Mastery will do a lot of physical damage, for example with Volatility or Brimstone, which increase also physical damage, there are other abilities that we'll see later. But if you are dealing physical damage, this can be a great way to augment that type of damage. And since this ability does physical damage, it is in fact a self-buffing ability, reducing armor, which in turn increases softened metal own damage. If you are not dealing any type of physical damage, then softened metal can be skipped, and you can just use the Ring of Flame basic ability for the fire damage. Now, moving on, as the third and last ability of the second row, here we have Volcanic Orb. Now, this is an ability that will throw a ball of fire in an arc at the spot where you throw it, and it will hit your enemies after exploding. Let's turn off this aura. you can see the area of effect is not that high, and if I launch it really far away, it will take a really long time to hit the enemies, and as such they may move and not be hit by the fireball or volcanic orb in this case. Now that guy just flew away. Now, Volcanic Orb only does physical and fire damage, and nothing more than that. But upgrading the Conflagration augmented skill will also let Volcanic Orb deal burn damage over time. Now you can see it has 4 meter radius. And as such, since Volcanic Orb has 3 meter radius, there are some times where enemies will be hit only by the burn damage and not by the explosion itself. So be mindful of that. This explosion radius will not increase the basic explosion as well, but only the burn over time effect. We can see its animation in this way. This is fairly simple, so let's move on to fragmentation. Now, this ability lets Volcanic Orb explode in little fragments, which all deal physical and fire damage, mainly physical, as well as stunning enemies anytime they are hit. So let's see it in action, like that. You can see these little projectiles, all will deal physical and burn damage. You can see they exploded right away, and the number was white instead of purple, because the main type of damage dealt was physical. Now the amount as well as the damage dealt will increase putting more points. So if I put a lot, the number of projectile and the damage will be kind of crazy. But as we said, this ability will need a lot of points to be good, so sometimes it's just better to put a lot of points in Ring of Flame, since it's also 3 tiers lower and it's easier to access. Now, Volcanic Orb will be better against bosses, that's for sure. Any fragment that you launch will probably hit the same enemy multiple times. So against a single target, this will probably be better than Ring of Flame. But in terms of speed, Ring of Flame will be the top tier ability between these 3. This will be your main low tier leveling and damage dealing abilities until you reach the top. Now, for the second row, that's it. Let's move on to the third. Now here the kind of ability you have will change. You will not have any kind of damaging ability, but some utility. Here we have Stone Form and Summon Core Dweller. Let's start with him. Now, Core Dweller is a pet that you can summon. You saw it earlier as well. Now this guy itself has already an ability, which is the Provoke ability. Now if you read the ability, it says that it provokes enemies to draw their attention away from allies. Now this is as good as it sounds, because the less attack you take, the less damage you take. You can see I'm running around and they are hitting him instead of me. Now this is really good to take aggro of enemies instead of yourself. And this can greatly reduce your damage, since this mastery doesn't have a lot of protection, a lot of mitigation, a lot of stuns or disturbs. This can be a nice way to prevent damage being dealt to you. Now, as such, Summon Core Dweller will take a lot of damage instead of you, so you will need to make him tanky as well. Now, to make him tanky, you will of course put a lot of points in the basic ability itself, which will increase its health. Now let's see.
Untie
Stats.
the strands of fate. It is decided.
Now, some abilities, some pet abilities, putting a lot of points will unlock a new ability. Now, Core Dweller will not do that, so only the basic stats will go up. The health will be really high, but don't expect another ability. And as such, don't expect him to become a damage dealing pet. He will not be that just yet. Now, let's move on to Inner Fire. This ability will let the Core Dweller deal fire damage with his attacks. You can see he does not do, in fact, fire damage, so Earth Enchantment with Summon Core Dweller will not be as effective. But putting some points, you can see the fire damage, basic flat fire damage will increase, as well as its dexterity, total speed, and health regeneration. So both the damage and the survivability with the health regeneration and dexterity increase will make Core Dweller better. Now this ability is nice, but putting a lot of points early on will only hurt you. It will not increase the DPS of Summon Core Dweller by that much, so spending points in the Ring of Flame ability or Earth Enchantment, it will still be better. But the health regeneration will pair up quite well with some other abilities. In particular, we can see here with Dream Mastery. If you are having a combination with Dream and Earth, then you will probably use at some point Trance of Convalescence. Now this ability, we can see here, will increase, it's an aura ability, and it will increase the health regeneration of both you and your pets, your allies nearby. So by increasing this flat health regeneration, then using the percentage health regeneration increase from Inner Fire will go a long way to increase Summon Core Dweller survivability ability. Now that is all for Inner Fire. Let's move on to the next augment, which is Wildfire. Now Wildfire lets the Core Dweller unlock another ability. Let's see it in action. Sometimes you will have to recast if you are upgrading augment skill from your pets. Now this is the kind of ability that Wildfire is. It ignites an area, and any second for 4 seconds enemies will take burn damage every second, as well as having their reduced offensive ability by a percentage. Now this is great to deal a massive amount of area damage, since the burn damage per second can be increased by putting more points, of course, but can also be increased by the Earth Enchantment, since he also received the aura. Now this also decreases the enemy offensive ability.
Roads
Let's
not
see it in
taken
action.
may now be followed. Your choices have been made.
The offensive ability will decrease enemies' damage, physical damage, if they are attacking you from melee. Now this reduces offensive ability is almost the same as the soft metal amount, so you will kind of only get the best of the two, but the amount is not that high anyway. So be mindful of that, but it's not prominent. Moving on, this ability will make the Core Dweller do a lot of damage, but we are still waiting for the Summon Core Dweller core ability to tank, which is Metamorphosis. Now this ability will increase everything: health, armor absorption, and elemental resistance. So the tankiness of our core dweller will skyrocket with this ability. Now, to better understand the high amount of physical resistance that we are getting from both the protection and absorption, we will need to talk about the absorption and how it works. Now, here it says plus 33% armor absorption. Now, since the base for anyone is 66%, you will think that 66 plus 33 will equal 99, which is basically 100 armor absorption. But it is in fact not that way. Now, this 33% armor absorption is based on the plus 66. We can see it this way in a better way. If I have on my character 100 points of armor on a piece, my armor absorption is a basic of 66%, so my armor will protect me for 66 points of damage. Now, for the core dweller with metamorphosis, he will have 100 armor points, let's say. Its basic armor absorption will be 66, and the 33 will be based off the 66, so it will be a total of 88%. So its armor will be increased to 88, not 99. It is a little misconception about armor absorption, which can happen since the ability doesn't state that it is based on the 66 starting point. But even if in this way it gets worse than 99, it is still an insane ability to let the core dweller tank for you, and especially physical damage. Now, it will not only increase the survivability against physical damage, but also against elemental and any kind of damage with the health amount. This, in combination with upgrading the basic ability, will make the core dweller literally not die in any kind of way, so he will be able to tank for you anytime. You can see we have already seen all of the summon core dweller abilities, but we have still yet to talk about the stone form. Stone form is a strange ability. Sometimes it can be good, sometimes it can be just a useless ability. Now, what this does is this: it lets you completely be immune to all kinds of damage for a duration, but at the same time you want to be able to attack, to cast, to move, or do anything at all. Now, it has a high second recharge and a small duration. It has a basic of 6
Everything
seconds.
done. May destiny teach you greatness.
And it will also give you a high amount of health regeneration per second. Now, why you should use this ability is because it is a great panic button. So let's say, for example, I am low health. The first thing I am going to do, usually, is to use my healing potion. Let's say I use that, and while it is on cooldown, my health will drop low again. Now, I won't be able to use another health potion for a small duration. So if I just wait, I may be going to die. Now, what you can do is, if you have low health in this time, just cast Stone Form. You will be safe from all kinds of damage for the remaining duration in which your health pot will not be able to be used. So you will heal some amount, but the main focus is stalling for time for the next use of your healing potion. This can be great saving ability if you are trying to play hardcore and not die, of course. But it also has another use. Now, if you are trying to play a reflection build, which we are not in this case, then the main kind of way you will be dealing damage is to take damage. Enemies will attack you, and you will reflect enemy damage back. For example, let's see, Titan Quest database. If you are trying to have this kind of armor pieces, these are called high scale sets, and they are mostly frequent, dropped from Ichthyans in the North Act, and they have a reflection ability that give you, which lets you reflect a lot of damage that enemies deal to you. Now this build is so strong, but also really hard to pull off. But if you are trying to get this kind of gear and use it at the best possible way, then you will probably select Earth Mastery just to have Stone Form. The great thing about it is that while in Stone Form you are invulnerable to damage, but if the enemies are attacking you or dealing any kind of damage to you, you will not take any of it, while they are still taking the reflected damage. Now this mechanic is so strong that you can just go in the arena of the boss, pull out your Store Form, you will hit you with its strongest attack, and you will just take no damage, and he will kill himself right away. That is basically the build, right then and there. Stone Form is so useful with this kind of build, not this one of course, the reflection one with ice scale, that you will need to have it. You will probably do a combination of earth and maybe defense or Neidan mastery just to have Stone Form. Now for the augment skill, this molten rock add-on, it increases the basic duration, so it's nice, but the duration does not increase by putting more points. You can see it only adds a fire retaliation to the basic ability, so it is really useless to level. Just put 1 point for the increase in duration, and that's it. Now moving on the next row we have Volatility. This is a passive ability which is fairly simple. Now anytime you deal physical, fire or burn damage, you will have a 33% chance to deal an increased amount. And that's it. This ability is so simple, but some may argue that this ability is so strong that it's broken. I would not say so. It's really strong but not broken, just because the chance to hit enemies with the stronger attack is not that high, it's only 33%. Now this chance to increase your damage can also be applied to your spells as well as your attacks, so be mindful of that. If you want to increase either of those, Volatility is a great damage increase. Moving on, we have Eruption. This ability lets you create a fissure on the ground that lets out fragments of the same kind that fragmentation does from Volcanic Orb, and these fireballs all deal physical and fire damage, and these fireballs exit at the fissure every second. Now the amount as well as the damage of these fireballs will increase by putting more points onto the ability. You can see now it does 4 to 5, at the lower level it did 3 to 4. Now these fireballs always are coming from the center, so if you perfectly position the Eruption ability on top of a boss, he will take the damage from all of those fireballs. Now this can be a great ability to absolutely destroy bosses that are standing still, or maybe some targets that are not moving. So if you have any kind of way to keep enemies from moving and putting this ability on top of them, they will take an insane amount of fire and burn damage that we said can be also increased with volatility. So the damage will be kind of crazy and the enemy will go down really fast. This is really nice to kill one particular boss enemy. It's not so good against large hordes if you cannot group them. You can see the area of effect is kind of small, and the effectiveness and the area of the enemies that you hit will be a little bit random, since the fireball will exit in a random pattern. Now, the best way to use it is, as I said, against one enemy, putting it on top of it, and that's it. To instead hit a large amount of enemies, you will need to fire out the fire nova. This is a screen clearer. You can see just how high the radius is. It almost covers the entire screen, except the angles. Let's see it again. Now this ability will deal only burn damage, as well as fire, not physical, like eruption. So the best kind of augment skill for this will be, of course, be volatility as well as earth enchantment. Now this ability is great against really high number of low level mobs, for example a satyr encampment, or maybe some spiders. In this way, let's pull a lot and I kill them all. Now this ability will clear almost any low level mobs, even if you have a low amount of points put on it. But if the enemy survive, the ranged attackers will have a chance of impaired aim for a low duration. So it will offer some kind of small protection against them. That is also nice, but they of course have to survive the ability first. This is probably of the two abilities gotten from Atlantis the most useful one, to speed up your farming against a large amount of enemies even more, but it does not solve the bossing problem. Yes, we have eruption, but it's not really enough. For that we have the Meteor Rain. It is a high damaging, high cooldown, high cost ability, high everything. Now this ability will let you shower enemies with a rain of meteors in this way. Now the ability is high everything, as I said. It does physical damage, burn damage, stun, but the ability itself is kind of clunky. You can see when I cast it, it's not like Fire Nova. I just press the button and it goes off. I have to target a position. Now I don't know if this position target will change anything, but sometimes you can see I clicked here and the meteor came here, as well as the other random meteors will come in random patterns and random position. Now sometimes you will not hit all enemies around you, some will escape, so this ability can be kind of clunky, but the insane amount of damage that it deals will pay off this kind of clunkiness. Let's see it again. A really high lag. This ability can be really laggy, pay attention. Sometimes it does this freeze. Now, the damage is mostly physical, so to increase really highly the damage from this ability, you will have to put either a lot of points in volatility and hope for the 33% chance, or either use Brimstone with the increased physical damage, or the softened metal reduced armor. Now you can see that Earth Mastery will be a lot of damage. In any ability there is some damaging component, but the protection amount you will get is fairly low. The reduced in offensive ability from these abilities is nice, but it's not enough. The impaired aim is nice, but it's not enough. Now, the stone form is a really nice panic button. This is obviously a must-have ability, even just 1 point. Having to put a high amount of points is really not that good for you. It will just be a waste, the duration will not increase. So just 1 point here, and maybe a molten rock is enough. Now for heat shield, this is a must-have. Just put 1 point for starting out the physical resistance, and against some bosses just respec out of your maybe eruption or some kind of damaging ability. Put the points here against the sorter, kill sorter, go to epic difficulty, and then remove the points again. This can be really nice against particular enemies, but as well as stone skin. These 3 protection ability will be a must-have in your build anytime. So now this build is really a strange build. Now all that's left of Earth Mastery is talking about the leveling and see an example of a build, as we said. Now the leveling of Earth Mastery is fairly simple, as we said before. Ring of Flame is your best ally. So you kind of wanna put 1 point in the Earth Enchantment, then rush to level 4 in the bar. Put all your points for some levels in the Ring of Flame until it is maxed out. At that point you will go lightning fast speed, but you will consume a lot of mana points, so stock up on potion as soon as you can. Continue farming enemies lightning speed. After you have maxed out Ring of Flame, you will probably max out Earth Enchantment just to keep up that high damage farming speed capabilities. After that you can go in a lot of direction. Now if you are doing a single mastery, that's fine, but you can also put abilities otherwise, in other places. For Earth Mastery in particular, I would say pick up 1 point in heat shield, maybe when you get to Delphi or some place like that, Athens. It's fine, it's not needed, you will need that later on, but otherwise just climb the bar as fast as you can. Maybe also in other abilities you will need some kind of protection, and the stats are fine. The stats are really nice. The health, the dexterity, you will be needing that a lot since you will not have any kind of protection. Now getting the stone skin is nice, but not that much early on, so you can max out softened metal if you want. Otherwise just get more points in the bar as fast as you can, get the volatility, skip completely Flame Arch. This will be an ability that you will want to use later on in the game, but early is just not that good. You can also use Volcanic Orb if you like it, but I would also not suggest it. It needs too many points for the early game. Max out volatility. If you want, you can at this point get Summon Core Dweller as well as Heat Shield if you haven't gotten it yet. Get 1, 2, 3 points in Core Dweller, but be sure to put at least 1 point in Wildfire to get some more damage every second, and some tankiness from Metamorphosis. Now at this point you will probably still do enough damage against normal enemies with Ring of Flame and max level Earth Enchantment, but against the bosses you will struggle. At this time you will need to farm, or have already farmed, some kind of damage amplifying ability. For example, I don't have any here. This is a strange build which does not focus on Ring of Flame, but this will be your main kind of damaging ability, so the more fire damage amplification you get, the better. But you will still struggle against bosses, so putting some points in Eruption or other boss killing abilities will be essential to speed up your progression. Otherwise you will take several minutes to kill bosses just from Ring of Flame. Now for the late game part of the mastery, you will probably need to put 1 point in Stone Form and finish your bar to get these juicy stats. You can decide to put some points in Meteor Rain at this point. Maybe at the end of Orient Act you will be at this point if you only focus on if you only focus on Earth Mastery, sorry. But I will not suggest it. Instead, just max out Fire Nova. It will be just enough damage to keep going fast against the hordes and bosses as well. This does a surprisingly amount of high burn damage. If you can get the chance of percentage burn from volatility, the bosses will go down really nice. Now that's basically it. Now for this build I will kind of not show this example because it's the only fire build I have on this computer. But what it does, it was a challenge build. You can see I have 83 points available, and it was a challenge for which I challenged myself to use less points that I could. The less the better. And this ability only focused on increasing your experience gain, for example from Blight Blade, Prince Glauberg's Sword, which does plus 20% increase experience, as well as 25% experience gains from this. Now you can see a lot of experience gain just to be high level against the mobs and be a safe distance while not using these points. And the challenge was really it, having as many points available unspent as possible. This is a meme build, of course, it's not strong at all, but it is an example, a bad one, of a fire build. Now that is basically it for the Earth Mastery, and I hope you liked this video. If you did, just put a like and subscribe to my channel. Now the next mastery will probably come out in a week or so, maybe week 2, I will see about that, but I will see you on the next mastery video.